want to be safe. We all want to be warm. We all want to feel loved, know the comfort of home. Want our children to grow, learn to make their own sound. Seems to me we all walk on common ground.
Love that song. Love it.
Common ground.
So,
do we walk on common ground?
We're trying. God knows we're trying.
Yeah.
Today we want to talk a little bit more about autocracy, since it seems to be something we are hurtling towards, or as Lynn Cheney put it, sleepwalking towards dictatorship. And I don't think we can talk about this enough in this coming year. It's going to be a tough year, wouldn't you say?
Yep. You know? It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of firsts.
Yes.
Almost weekly, maybe even daily, there'll be firsts.
You're going to hear more about the Supreme Court this year than you ever have before.
Yep.
They're going to be getting into this because they have to, because we are basically stress testing our democracy and our Constitution. And so there's going to be a lot of open questions, a lot of constitutional crises that have to be solved, and the Supreme Court is going to get involved. I think we know where Alito and Thomas will be. Maybe Gorsuch will be with them more often than not. We know where the three liberal justices will be. And it'll really be up to Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh to tip the balance one way or the other. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I can't imagine everything going our way. And so the biggest factor in the end of all of this is going to be the voter. Will we rise up? Will we come to the aid of our country? Because this is going to be a battle.
Yeah, it's like last week when we were talking about America pre-Roe v. Wade, and I had that copy of Our Bodies, Ourselves. That kind of underground literature, that kind of underground dialogue is something that we will definitely be returning to, because women's rights are just being smashed all across the country.
Right. No question about it. And I think, what we spoke about last week is the perfect example of what happens when autocracy takes over and overwhelms democracy. In the state of Texas, that's a fascist autocratic state now. I mean, they may as well secede from the Union based upon the way that they're behaving.
They've gone down the vortex. They really have.
They really have. I mean, women are criminalized in Texas. Texas, their state legislature resides in the bedrooms of Texas citizens, and they determine what they think is right, proper, and then they mandate it. And I think that's the key word when it comes to autocracy and dictatorship. You are not given a set of laws or guidelines to live by. You are given a set of mandates to live by. You have to do. You don't have choice. You don't have choice.
Right. With Roe v. Wade, you had choice. I remember that the Right to Life Party in '73 was arguing that they didn't want the federal government in their bedrooms because the federal government was coming into their bedrooms and telling them they had to have abortions. No, that never happened. You had a choice in your bedroom because it was within the privacy of your domain. But what's happened now, 50 years later, the godchild of the Right to Lifers and the John Birchers, being the MAGA crowd, believe that the federal government belongs in your bedroom.
Well, why do you think that this is an appealing idea to so many? There used to be a small, sort of crazy group, you might say, but now it's become this MAGA movement. What is engaging people about this? Why do they want this kind of mandated autocratic rule instead of being able to express themselves?
Well, part of it is, when the dog catches the car. The dog can chase the car, but, it's not good when the dog actually catches the car. And a big part of that marginalized, we could call them sidelined, the Tea Party folks, perhaps, if you want to reach back to that period, they needed to have bad guys. They needed to have whipping posts, and it worked for them because it was a very simplified form of governance, and that was appealing to them. Problem is, when they're in charge, we've seen this by just what's happened recently with Congress. They don't know how to do anything because they don't want to commit to actually doing something and being held responsible for the doing of it. It becomes very difficult for them, and they caught the bus, not the car. They caught the bus when they went after Roe v. Wade, and now we're in this interesting place because it is like a vortex. We're slipping further and further down with this court, and throughout the country we're slipping further down. But it doesn't have the full support of the populace. In fact, it's going against the grain of what the populace wants, and that's not just Roe v. Wade. That's on a whole list of civil rights issues and the Voting Rights Act, which is being shut down. All of this is going down this place. And when you ask why, I want to just suggest something here. I brought in my little copy of Brave New World Revisited, the 1957 publication by Huxley. In the back of this book, there is a letter that Huxley wrote to Orwell. George Orwell, 1984, Animal Farm, and so forth. Orwell believed that the authoritarian government would take power through violence, through control, like as illustrated in the metaphor story of Animal Farm. Huxley believed it would be authoritarianism by seduction. And in this letter he writes to Orwell, there's a line here that I think is very pertinent to where we are right now. And so Huxley writes, "The lust for power can be just as completely satisfied by suggesting people into loving their servitude as by flogging and kicking them into obedience." Loving their servitude. It's, just let that sink in for a minute.
Yep.
Loving their servitude. That is not the way I was raised. I was not raised that that's what America was about. If anything, no. America was about the right to speak up and argue on your behalf and articulate your argument well in terms of your democratic participation. Loving your servitude. And Huxley was seeing this and commenting on it in 1957 because he'd just come out of McCarthyism.
Yep. I want to give, let's just run a video for a second because I think this is part of how and why people love their servitude. We have a clown prince. We have an entertainer that is turning,
Because it's all about entertainment.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Got to be, right?
Yep.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's not retribution. I'm gonna be, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no, other than day one.
Yep, just look at those folks in there. They're loving their servitude. They're saying, "Great, kick us again." Yeah.
It's really frightening, and there's a few things happening in that clip that I think we really need to talk about. Just briefly, he says, "I want to be a dictator for day one." Well, nobody's a dictator for day one. If you're a dictator, you're a dictator.
It's like queen for a day. You can't be queen for a day. You
That's
get the
right.
title, and then you get to travel around the country displaying yourself as queen for the day.
And the problem here is that he is making, once again, and this is his superpower, he is making the word dictator and dictatorship palatable.
Acceptable, yeah.
He's normalizing it.
Yeah.
He says it, he cracks a joke, they all laugh. And then, a year from now or 2 years from now, when he does something really horrible and terrible, and we have a constitutional crisis and it goes to court, in the Supreme Court, then the Supreme Court judges have to rule on it, and they say, well, now, wait a minute, he used the word dictator many times. He used it again the other night at the Young Republicans
And you voted for him, so obviously you like the word.
Right. So, we are loath to, uproot the desires of the people. That's how dangerous he really is. His ability to manipulate and to take language and to normalize what is outrageous and disgusting is the most dangerous thing when it comes to Donald Trump.
Our country, our elders, our parents did not destroy Hitlerism so it could rise up again. Did not put down ruthless authoritarianism, so it could rise up again. And I've been warned by colleagues, don't compare him to the Nazis. Why not? If you know your history, and if you know how National Socialism emerged, and that was a kind of seduction, if you know that, why not? I mean, we are who we've been. Can
Absolutely.
we change that? We can't if we don't know who we've been.
You know, I hear all kinds of rhetoric around that. You know, I've heard it too. Some people say, you know, well, you're cheapening, you know, the meaning and definition of what happened to the Jews in Germany. No, we're not. We're trying to make sure it doesn't happen again.
We're reminding you of what happened.
Yes. And the danger right now is Germany was stopped by a country with ethics and a deep sense of decency by the name of the United States. Who's going to stop our Hitler? That's what worries me more than anything else. You know, you mentioned before the Tea Party. The Tea Party really, MAGA is an evolution of the Tea Party. And one of the reasons I think that they thrive right now is because they are a minority. There's not as many of them as there are of us. And they are wielding a big stick right now. They have this is the tyranny of the minority that we are experiencing. And the only way we can stop that, is to rise up just as robust and just as energized and just as focused as they are. And that's the only way we're going to solve this
I would say a big part of that is education. And of course right now, thank you, the 3 college presidents that Stefanik grilled last week. Was it last week? It was earlier this week. Or was it last week? Last week. Education has this tremendous ability. Academia has this ability, and I know I'm from academia, to tie itself into knots. There was only one answer for the question about acquiescing to the idea of the annihilation of the Jewish state, the genocide, right? And that they couldn't answer that, but they had to parse it out and talk about semantics, weakened the whole front of the intellectual so that Stefanik and the MAGA crowd can go crazy and start condemning education across the way and setting up all sorts of little fact-finding groups to go in and grill the teachers. That was an absurd move on the part. But again, hey, neoliberalism, it also ties itself into knots over theory. That was an absurd move. I was now, I don't really agree. Here's the thing. I don't really agree that they should step down, that these presidents should step down.
Neither do I.
I think they need to stay in office and learn how to do this correctly.
Right.
They need to hear from the people in their institutions and learn how to do it. Because the institution is not poison. The institution has the ability to allow for this. It has the ability to change. Well, and that's what we need to do.
Absolutely. Instead of canceling them, which is exactly what we just did.
Yep.
You know, the bottom line here is we've got a big job ahead of us. This is autocracy. This is fascism on the move. It's happening. It's happening right now.
It's right here
in front of our eyes.
Coming to a theater near you. Every little small town is going to have it.
And the only way we're going to defeat this is if we achieve unity within our ranks. You know, I hear a lot of people talking about, Biden, he's too old, or, Biden did this, or he did that. Nobody's going to be perfect, number one. Let's just get that straight. No one is going to be perfect. Every single leader is going to do things you like and things you don't like. The trick here is to decide which leader will do more of the things that you truly like, which leader can handle this in a better way. Because there is no issue or policy that you're concerned about right now that is more important than unifying ourselves against authoritarian rule.
Well, the holidays are coming, and everybody loves. I was thinking this driving over here today. It's a Wonderful Life, and certainly Trump makes an excellent Mr. Potter. You know, the heavy guy, the bad guy, the Barrymore part, and then that. Okay, well. Is Biden George Bailey? Biden is not George Bailey.
No.
Biden is George Bailey's father, who is tolerant and patient, but tired and ready to pass the baton on. That's George Bailey's father, if you see the movie. So then who's George Bailey? It's us. We are George Bailey.
You're George Bailey.
We're right on the edge there. We can go one way or the other. We need to believe in ourselves.
Stand up and be brave.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you guys out there, you're George Bailey. You know who you gals are? You're Mary.
You're Mary,
Now,
right?
I want you to watch that movie again this
Right.
year. I want you to watch It's a Wonderful Life again. Because you know who the real hero in that story is? It's Mary.
Yeah.
Mary
Yep.
is the hero.
Yep.
Seriously.
Consistent,
watch what
strong,
happens.
supportive, the whole 9 yards.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right.
And well, should I read this last piece here?
Yeah, please do.
This is from Twilight of Democracy, Anne Applebaum's wonderful book. And she ends the book. I'm giving away the ending here, but it's still really worth reading. It's Hungary, Poland, and the United States, talking about the rise of authoritarianism. And she ends with this. We always knew, or should have known, that history could once again reach into our private lives and rearrange them. We always knew, or should have known, that alternative visions of our nations would try to draw us in. But maybe, picking our way through the darkness, we will find that together we can resist them.
Let me say that again. That together we can resist them. It's a word of hope in an otherwise pretty challenging book. And there's going to be a lot of challenge this year. We're going to hear a lot of frightening things, and we're going to see a lot of awful things happen during the year of 2024.
But we can face them. We can do this because it is a wonderful life.
That's right. It is. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't give up. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't be crushed. Don't be pushed down. Stand up. Unity is what will save us. It's what will save our democracy. Is what will save our nation.
Yeah, power to the people.
You bet. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Chuck.
Yep. See you next time.
We all want to be safe. We all want to be warm. We all want to feel loved, know the comfort of home. Want our children to grow, learn to make their own sound. Seems to me we all walk on common ground. Common ground, common ground. We all walk on common ground.
We all wanna be strong, fully free and alive. Take just enough chances, stand up tall and with pride. Yes, we all wanna play, have good friends all around. It seems to me we all walk on common ground. Common ground, common ground.
We all walk on common ground. Some conversations aren't easy, and we wonder how we'll turn this mess around. But if we realize and seek to compromise,
we sleep under one moon, lift our face to one sun, feel the wetness of rain, seek shelter, everyone. Yearn for rest when we're weary, seek solace when we're down. It seems to me we all walk on common ground.
Some conversations aren't easy,
and we wonder how we'll turn this mess around.
but if we realize and seek to compromise, we can meet meet on common ground. Common ground. We all walk on common ground. Common ground. Common ground. We all walk. I know that we all walk 1 foot forward. We all walk on common ground.